Hey guys, it's Mike with VHS Fitness Reviews, and there's no way I could have this channel and not talk about Jane Fonda and her original workout. And I bought a leotard for this, but they sent me a clown costume instead. So I don't know what the hell to do with that. The original workout tape had two routines on it. There was a beginner and an advanced program. Today, I'm just looking at the beginner's program, and we're going to talk about how much fun it is and how effective it is and some history behind the tape, and of course, how many calories I burned.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you ready to do the workout? Yeah!
The creation of Jane Fonda's original workout is well documented. The short version is that in 1982, Jane Fonda came out with this tape. It sold a bajillion copies. That spawned like a whole brand and like 24 more workouts. But it wasn't the first one, but it was the first one to make it big. And it basically spawned an entire industry. Okay, now for the long version. The story's a little bit different depending on where you read it, but the end result is the same. In 1978, Jane Fonda was filming The China Syndrome, and she broke her ankle. So she wasn't able to do her normal fitness routine. So she went to a fitness instructor and said, hey, can you build me a new routine that I can do with this broken ankle while it heals? So she took the routine she got from that instructor, sort of molded it into her own thing, and started actually showing other people how to do it. She opened a fitness club, and it did really well. So in 1981, she took all of this information and put it into a book called Jane Fonda's Workout Book. That book contains the workout with pictures and instructions, but also sections on how to eat right and some ideology on breaking the feminine stereotypes that stopped women from working out and basically had them avoiding fitness. That same year in 1981, she released Jane Fonda's Workout Record, where she would guide you through a workout while pop music played in the background. All of this stuff came out before her VHS tape. Workout records existed already. Workout books existed already, so her putting out those two things weren't super risky, but a VHS tape, that was a little more risky. Fitness on VHS existed before Jane Fonda's tape, but they were smaller and they weren't as popular and they were not paradigm-shifting products by any means. For whatever reason, those VHS fitness tapes that came before Jane Fonda's never set the world on fire. I mean, it's probably because Jane Fonda was a big celebrity, and she also probably had the resources to know the right kind of people to maybe push it in the right markets. That's pure speculation on my point, but you could see how that could kind of logically follow. But the point stands that VHS fitness was rare back then. And why? Because nobody had VCRs, because they were super expensive in 1982. I found some listings for VCRs at the time from magazines, and adjusted for inflation, this stuff was like $1,500 plus. But her workout tape was released in 1982 and was a top seller for all of the 80s. And now, 40 years later, a man with a warped set of priorities is telling you all about it on a video streaming platform that's run by evil goblins. Okay, that's enough history. Let's get to the review. Jane Fonda's workout tape is, according to the back of the box, supposed to build strength, develop flexibility, and increase endurance. We start with a little stretching and then go into some light aerobics, and then we go into the workout, which is broken down into individual sections of the body.
And point again. 1, 2, 3.
So the beginner's workout on this tape exists exclusively to get you prepped for the advanced workout. Because remember, there's two workouts on this tape. The advanced one is an hour long, but the beginner's one is only 33 minutes long. So don't be fooled by the runtime if you see it. It's not a 90-minute workout. There's two workouts, one's 30 minutes, one's 60. I'm just reviewing the beginner's workout today, and yeah, I could have gone to the advanced workout pretty easily, but I like to put my feet in the shoes of people that maybe did this at the time. So that's what I did. I did the beginner's workout for a month, prepping myself for the advanced one.
Are you ready to do the workout?
And it was a really good idea for them to add this sort of path forward on this tape. Because like I said in the history section, VHS fitness didn't really exist at the time. The options were so limited and they were so expensive that you wanted to have a tape that could apply to as many people as possible. But does this beginner's workout actually appeal to fitness beginners? So yeah, shocker, the beginner's workout is really easy. However, female anatomy is a real leg up here because some of the moves sort of assume a certain level of flexibility.
And open. 1, 2, 3.
And there's still a couple moves that I straight up can't do. But other than those instances, it's actually a pretty easy workout. Also, it's no surprise that it's better for female anatomy because the whole brand is sort of built for women. There are men in the background, so it's not necessarily excluding them, but really, especially in the book, if you look at the contents of the book, it's obvious that it's made for women. So even though it's pretty easy, it's not like there's no work to be done here. Some of the sections did give me a little bit of a burn. And at the very end, there's this cool down stretch that actually is really challenging.
Now straighten out your legs again.
I know what you're thinking. I'm thinking it too. Can this guy eat an entire Italian hero while in this stretch?
For injury risks, the routine is pretty easy, but I can see a risk of hyperextension happening because if you don't have the mobility and you're just doing them as presented and then throwing your body into it, I can totally see you hurting yourself. Also, during some of the stretches, they bounce.
Flat back, straight legs. Bounce, bounce, bounce.
And that's not something you really see anymore because a lot of people think that if you bounce, it could lead to injury a little bit quicker. In my time with Jane Fonda's beginner workout, I burned an average of about 200 calories per session. The highest I ever got was 243, and the lowest I ever got was 173. And both of those were 100% tied to my heart rate for that session. The higher the heart rate, the more calories burned. The lower, the less. And to measure my heart rate, I use a Polar H10 chest strap heart rate monitor, and there's a link in the description if you want one of your own. The day where I lost the most calories, my BPM average was about 114, and on the lowest day, it was 99. In general, my average heart rate was in the low hundreds, like 104, 105 BPM, something like that. If you look at the chart below, you can see that my heart rate sort of peaks during the aerobics section, and then it kind of comes down and never really spikes again. Really, 200-ish calories for 32 minutes of work isn't that bad, but remember that the whole point of this workout is just to get you prepped for the advanced workout. So burning calories isn't its number one goal, it's there to prep you. After the aerobics, it breaks out into different sections of the body. You get arms, waist, abs, butt, legs, and hips. But it does hit each one of those with a different level of intensity. I got a little bit of a burn on the arms section, specifically in the shoulders, and yeah, shoulders are kind of lumped in with the whole arm section. And on the waist section, I found that challenging, but because of my mobility, not so much from a burning standpoint. I felt like maybe if I could flex the way I needed to, I would have gotten more work done, but because I could really barely flex the way they were, that I wasn't getting as much work done as I needed. For legs and hips, it is pretty targeted, so there is a burn happening there. It actually reminded me a little bit of Buns of Steel.
Ooh, press.
Or I guess Buns of Steel would probably remind you of Jane Fonda's workout because this came 4 years earlier. But my least favorite exercise appears again here. If you remember from my Buns of Steel review, I hated this thing, but this time I was a little vindicated. Look at this dude in the background. He can barely lift his leg too. That's basically how I'm doing it. I don't look like Jane Fonda, I look like this dude. Finally, for the buttocks, I did not get a great burn on those because that's another section where it's really mobility focused. So if you can't flex the way you need to, if you don't have that sort of mobility, you're kind of not able to do the moves in a way that could actually give you that burn.
This is a very isolated movement, just using your buttocks.
For the beginner's workout, the whole thing is body weight. You don't have to worry about any gear. You're probably gonna want a mat to work out on though. And you know me, I like to work out barefoot when I can, and this one, absolutely, you can do barefoot. The aerobics doesn't last long enough that you're gonna like rub your feet in a way that's gonna hurt, so you can totally do this barefoot. Something to note is that on the back of the box, it mentions that if you've been doing the advanced workout for a while and you're getting good at it, to add ankle weights. So that's something that it actually suggests you to do as another path forward, but of course, we're just looking at the beginner's workout here, so no ankle weights, because by the time you would want to use ankle weights for the beginner's workout, you should be moving on to the advanced workout. Jane Fonda is a movie star, so obviously her on-screen presence is really commanding.
Yes!
She seems really confident and capable, and her attitude's really positive too. But there's another aspect to her performance here that feels like it's there to empower women in ways that are not just fitness related. Jane Fonda was seen as a sex symbol, and I think that some of this workout was not meant just to make women physically fit, it was make them to feel sensual too. Jane has these eyes sometimes that seem enraptured in this way that is hard to not see as intimate.
Head to the right. Back.
Is this a sign to you at home that this is what you look like? You could be Jane Fonda in more ways than just physically? And at other times she speaks in this sort of breathy voice that seems like you got the tape from behind the beaded curtain at the video store, if you know what I mean.
Left, stretch, chin out, 6, 7, 2, stretch.
And also, some of the moves are like really cheeky in a way that seems like really hard to ignore.
Bounce, 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 stretch it out.
Also, I have to mention one last thing about this. During the tape, they're always cutting to the crew and showing them how they're doing it, and it goes back to Jane, you see her, and then it cuts to the crew. But there's one move that it is the longest static shot of the entire tape, and it is her thrusting pelvis. It's 30 seconds of her thrusting pelvis. No other shot lasts that long. They don't show anyone else in the background doing it. It's just Jane doing it. So maybe this was all intentional, maybe it's not. I feel like there's something to it. It was really hard not to watch this as many times as I did and not feel like maybe there's another message there. But maybe I'm just a weirdo guy who's reading way too much into this.
Oh, that feels so good.
Okay, that was a whole weird thing. But on to the crew. They seem like they're having a good time, and there's this one moment where they really rev up, and you can hear these random outbursts and cheers from the crew.
6, 7, 8. Now to the right.
It did take me by surprise because I figured a tape this old would be more reserved with itself, but again, we're hitting on those tones of empowerment. It's not just sit quietly and do your leg lifts, it's let it all out. And none of this is surprising given Jane Fonda's legacy, by the way. Okay, so you know how this works. Every video I choose someone in the crew who's a little bit extra special and I crown them the queen of the crew. So who's it gonna be? This blonde over here is doing a really great Spider-Man impression, but there's somebody else who I want to crown queen of the crew. Somebody in the background keeps vocalizing. They keep yelling. They say like, feel the burn. You hear this other voice yelling from the background.
6, 7, 7.
But no matter what, whenever that person is yelling, they're not on camera. So, by process of elimination, I think it's this woman because she's never shown when the person is yelling. I'm naming her Let It Out Laura, and she is queen of the crew. So why would you want to do Jane Fonda's original beginner's workout? There is historical significance here, both in fitness and in feminism. If that interests you, you might want to do it. But it is a beginner's workout, so if you're just starting out, it's not a terrible place to start. And also the calorie to minute ratio isn't terrible, you could do a lot worse. Also, the music isn't bad, it has this jazzy feel to it, and okay, no one is going to get this, but one of the tracks sounds like it belongs in a Mega Man X game, but only one of the ones from PlayStation 1.
8, now flex. 1,
Don't forget to breathe.
3, 4.
Nobody is gonna get that. So why would you not want to do this? Like I said before, it's a beginner's workout. If you're not a beginner, you can totally skip it. Also, I had mentioned earlier that female anatomy is a real leg up. I'm not saying that men can't do this or shouldn't do this, but if you're a man with an average man's flexibility, meaning that you haven't worked on your flexibility or your mobility, you're gonna be hamstrung here. You're not gonna be able to do as much work as you need to do. And unless you have a real desire to do Jane Fonda's workout, you might want to start somewhere else. I mean, still work on your flexibility, but you can do that while also maybe either burning more calories or actually getting more strength work done, because there are two sections that I feel like if you're not bendy, if you're not flexible, you're not really going to get much out of it. Yeah, and of course, if you keep doing this workout, your flexibility will get better, but it is going to take time. And if you actually want to work on your flexibility, there are better ways to do it than this, and there are also better ways to lose calories. So unless you're really specifically interested in this and you have bad flexibility, I actually wouldn't really start here. Where can you get it? It's free here on YouTube. Jane Fonda herself uploaded it. And it does also exist on DVD if you want, and VHS, of course. Just be warned that on eBay, the prices vary pretty significantly. I've seen them for $5, I've seen them for $25, and I'm not really sure what governs that, but mine was pretty cheap, so if you just wait for a good deal, I'm sure you could find it cheap enough. Got that sweet clamshell action. I enjoyed my time with Jane Fonda's original beginner's workout, and I think it's just because it was pretty short and easy, right? It's not long enough to be boring, and it's not difficult enough to really be a slog. It was also fascinating to watch for reasons that I stated earlier. I'm like, what am I watching? Am I reading too much into this? And I found that part of it really fascinating, finding little things here and there to sort of pick apart. Also, Jane Fonda is magnetic. She commands the screen and really makes you want to follow her. So I would say it was worth the trip, and I do look forward to what the advanced workout brings in the future, but I am glad that nowadays we have this sort of variety of fitness workouts that we do now, because remember, in 1982, this was probably your only fitness tape for a real long time. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Join me next time, where I will be looking at...
Okay. It hurts. I don't know. My body is in bed. My bed, my whole neck. Can this guy eat an entire